Hey, Richard Matthews here, and I'm going to introduce this section of the webinar on asset protection by talking about one thing real quick. And that is the difference between this and this. This is a 1 gram gold bullion card, and this is a US dollar bill. Now, before 1971, the US dollar bill was backed by gold and was basically as good as gold for a long time. In 1971, however, US President Nixon took the US dollar off the gold standard, and this ceased becoming money. Now, for 5,000 years of history, gold was considered money and used as money by all the major economies in the world. But after 1971, that stopped happening, and the US dollar bill, which was the backing for every other major currency in the world, stopped being gold and became a fiat currency. Now, if you're looking to protect your assets, that's a problem because this can be printed at will now, where this can't, right? So if you want to protect your assets, you need to have more money and less currency. And we're going to talk about the differences between those two and why this is currency and why this is money and why you need basically more money and less currency in the video that follows. Money versus currency, why you need more money and less currency, right? So money and currency have a couple of sets of rules. There are things that define currency and things that define money. And we're going to look at these definitions and find and basically show you why what our dollar is today is currency and not money, and why gold is money. So let's look at it. Currency has several properties, and money has a lot of the same ones. We'll get into both of these. First one is that it is a medium of exchange, right? That means that if I take, I can trade my goods and my services for your currency and then use that currency to trade for other goods and services that I need. I don't have to trade my goods and services for someone else's goods and services. That might be very difficult if all I had was fish and all you had was sheep and you didn't want my fish. I couldn't get your sheep, right? So medium of exchange allows people to exchange goods and services. Then you have a unit of account. Unit of account means that you can set prices in it. I can say that my fish is worth $1, right? I can set it as a price. That's what a unit of account means. It's portable, means you can take it with you. It's not heavy. It's one of the reasons why things like oil aren't used as a currency, because oil is not portable. You could set prices in it. You could use it as a medium of exchange, but it's not portable, so it can't be used as a currency, right? Divisible means that you can make change from it. That's why in our currency system, we have our $1 and $10 and $100 and $1,000 and then coins below that, so you can make change for the currency. So it's divisible. It's durable, means it lasts a long time. It's not going to fall apart. That's why coins are made from metal, because they last a long time, and why there's so much effort put into the durability of our paper bills. It's actually pretty fascinating if you ever want to study how they make our paper bills, because they're extremely durable, which is cool, more durable than almost any other paper products you can buy on the planet. And then fungible. Fungible means each unit is the same as the next one. So Fabian, if you have $1 in your pocket and I have $1 in my pocket, they are the same dollar. They're exactly the same as far as their purchasing power goes and your ability to use them as a medium of exchange.
Sure.
So,
as opposed to them being like, for example, if I had a diamond in my pocket and you had a diamond in your pocket, well, we would have to get them measured and weighed to find out exactly what they will be worth.
Yeah, so they are not fungible in that state. So that's what fungible means. That's a new one for me. I didn't actually know what that word meant until I started looking into this. So that's something I learned there. And then money is slightly different, right? Money has all of the same characteristics. It needs to be a medium of exchange. It needs to be a unit of account. It needs to be portable, divisible, durable, fungible, the same as currency does. But it has one additional characteristic, which is incredibly important. And that's that it needs to be a store of value over a long time, right? And because money requires that and currency doesn't, it's one of the reasons why currency can never be money, because currency leaks value over time. We're going to talk about why that happens right now. So currency basically can be printed, which means it's impossible for currency to be a true store of wealth, because each additional unit of currency printed robs value from the rest of the currency, and over time, the value of that currency diminishes. So basically, currency can't be a store of value, and thus it can't be money. So with that, hopefully that makes sense, but I'm going to talk about now why more currency equals less value, right? Why every time you print currency, it's going to equal having less value for that currency. So this is my wonderful illustration, and we'll spend a little bit of time here, make sure everyone understands it. If on our left you see the $6 bills there, if that was representation of our entire currency supply, what they call base currency, right? Is that what they call it, Fabian? Base currency?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, if that represented our base currency, there's 6 units of currency there. And on the right side, we have these, I don't know how good your eyes are, those little boxes say ultra-thin portable spacesuits. So if our economy was represented by boxes of ultra-thin portable spacesuits, that would be our gross domestic product. Those are all the goods, all the services, and everything basically that there is available to buy in our economy, right? That's our gross domestic product. Is that a good way to describe GDP?
I think it's great. Yep, perfect.
Yeah. So we have our 6 pallets of ultra-thin portable spacesuits, and we have our $6, right? So every year we have your GDP generally grows on, for the past 200 and some odd years in America, our GDP has grown almost every year. I think there's been a few years where it hasn't grown, but for the most part, because of the way humans are, we like to invent and create and build things. We always have more products and more services, the next year than we had this year, because that's just who we are. That's what we do, right? Now, currency, because of the way, and we'll get into how this happens, we make lots of currency every year. And in fact, in the last couple of years, trillions upon trillions of dollars of it, which is scary. But anyways, to simplify it, say next year we doubled the amount of currency that we had the year previously, right? So instead of having 6, we have 12 units of currency. And if only it was that mild, right, Fabian?
Yeah, exactly.
If only it was that mild in our real world. If we double the amount of currency, but our GDP only grows a little bit, then what happens is now it takes more of those currencies more of the units of currency to pay for the amount of GDP that's available, right? So now instead of being a 1-for-1 exchange ratio, it's going to be like 1.2 to every unit of gross domestic product, if you were to think about it in that simplified terms. Because basically these two things always have to be equal to each other, which means if you have more currency and your GDP didn't grow as much, the value of that currency is going to shrink to match your GDP. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah. So if you have any questions about that, make sure that you put them in the box. We'll make sure we cover them, because this is a really important concept, and most people don't understand this, which is why we think our dollar is a constant and the prices of our goods and services are what's fluctuating, when what's happening is the value of the dollar is what's fluctuating, and the value of the products and stuff is basically staying the same. So that's an important concept. And that's why over time currency leaches value, because it's printed and it's not backed by, it's not a store of value. So gold, however, is a store of value over a long time. So basically 5,000 years ago, Egyptians used gold and silver as a medium of exchange. Now, it wasn't money as we just defined it, because it wasn't fungible and it wasn't set for like a unit of account. It was just a medium of exchange at this point, because like Fabian said with the diamond example, you had to weigh them and measure them, and the gold rock in your pocket wasn't the same as the gold rock in my pocket. So it wasn't money at this point, but it was a medium of exchange, which basically it was used to buy and sell. It empowered commerce, which makes gold and silver the longest standing medium of exchange on the planet, bar none, which is, I think, pretty cool. 5,000 years of history. Gold and silver has been here forever, and it hasn't failed yet as a store of value. Anything you want to say on that, Fabian? Before
it was also
gold holds its value.
It was also a store of. It was also a way that people, basically built wealth as well. It's why the pharaoh and all the people around them, basically had kind of gold jewelry and all this other stuff that, they understood that there was only so much gold around. It wasn't like it was an endless supply, making it obviously more valuable.
Nice. Which, speaking of not an endless supply, I got this cool little graphic from democracyinfo.com. And basically, because gold is severely limited in quantity, its value is inherent due to that limited quantity. Gold is one of the few commodities that's actually very rare. right? A lot of our other commodities aren't nearly as rare as gold is. This little graph represents all of the gold in the entire world that has ever been mined ever. And it's sitting in a cube inside of an Olympic swimming pool. That's what that's representing. If you were to melt that down, it would fill 3.5 Olympic swimming pools. That's it. And that little dot there in front of the couch is a metric ton of gold, right? So 66,500 metric tons of gold are in existence right now. And that's over 5,000 years of history, all the mining that's ever been done, this much gold, right? So when you hear about gold being mined and everything, gold is being mined, gold is still being taken out of the earth, but it's still an extremely rare commodity, which is why it holds its value. So let's compare our GDP to gold supply again. Now, if you remember on the last thing, we had the dollars. Every year, gold, the amount of gold does not go up by any significant margin. It's very, very small compared to the total amount of gold. So from year to year, gold, the amount of gold stays the same. The gold supply stays the same, but your gross domestic product, our ultra-thin portable spacesuits, grows every year. And every year, in order for the gold supply and the products and the GDP to stay equal, the value of the gold rises, right? It has to. That's the way the laws of economics work, because gold is an extremely limited supply and its supply does not grow by very much every year. It becomes more valuable, which if you had sound money system, that basically means that in a sound money system, like having gold, you become wealthier every year because the amount of GDP goes up. Does that make sense?
Totally makes sense.
Anything you want to say on that?
I think you nailed it.
Yeah, I love this concept. And just learning that, if we covered nothing else, just understanding this one thing, that the difference between gold and currency is, and the sound money portion of this, that's why gold is called sound money, is because the supply doesn't change. If the supply doesn't change, then in a free market with free people, you become wealthier just by default. That's the way a real, what's the term, capitalist, a real capitalist market works. What we have is not a capitalist market. Fabian already mentioned that. We have, I don't know, what do you call it, crony capitalism?
We have a crony, state-run capitalist system.
Yeah, so not a real capitalist system, because this is what a real capitalist system would look like. So anyways, gold is money par excellence. And that basically means that it is better or more than all of the others of the same kind. So of all the options you have for what could be money, right? Silver could be money. Oil, we mentioned, could be money. But there's palladium could be money. The platinum could be money. There's a lot of things that could be money. Gold is money par excellence. It is the best kind of money that has ever existed or ever will probably exist. Maybe we'll find something cool when an asteroid hits our planet, some extraterrestrial metal that's better. But for now and for the foreseeable future, gold is money par excellence, because it is a medium of exchange, and it has been for 5,000 years, right? It can be a unit of account. You can set prices in gold, and when you have the currency grade gold, which is what our world accepts as units of account, you can set prices in it. And this, costs this much gold, ounces, grams, grains, all the way down. It's portable. We showed you that metric ton of gold. You could almost fit a metric ton of gold like in your basket on your bike, right? Not that your bike would be able to hold a metric ton of gold up, but it would fit in there. So it's portable. You could have a lifetime's worth of wealth of gold in your pocket. Particularly with today's prices. So portable, it's divisible. You can make change out of it. That's why we mentioned just a minute ago the grams, grains, ounces, tons, all the way up. So it's divisible. It's durable. We mentioned this already. 5,000 years, the same gold that the Egyptians were using, we're still using today. It's fungible. If Fabian has an ounce of currency grade gold in his pocket and I have an ounce of currency grade gold in my pocket, it is exactly the same. And most importantly, we just showed you how gold is a store of value over time. So it has that one essential feature that is over and above currency, right? So that is gold as money par excellence. And I just want to give you a brief little thing to show you what the buying power of gold versus currency is. which is I thought this was very cool. Guy by the name of Derek shared this with me. And basically, 40 years ago, a gram of gold would buy you this much bread, which is 5 loaves. And 40 years ago, a dollar would have bought you this much bread, 4 loaves, almost the same, right? Today, that same gram of gold would buy you 16 loaves of bread. And today, that same dollar wouldn't even buy you a whole loaf of bread, which is unfortunate. But that just goes to show you what happens to the buying power of currency because it's being printed, and what happens, again, to the value of gold. We showed you in the slide a couple slides ago. The supply of gold doesn't change. As your GDP goes up, the value has to go up of gold. So this gives you a very real, tangible, that's what I mean, is that the gold, the same gram of gold, can buy you more products than it could in the past because the supply of gold doesn't change. Does that make sense, Fabian?
Yeah, totally. It totally makes sense. Can you go back real quick, Richard, to the last slide? I just wanted to say something.
Yeah, let me hop back. This slide here, gold is money par excellence.
Yeah, the store of value over time. There you go. You can go back to where you were. The store of value over time, which is interesting. When we talk about currency or fiat money, which we're going to be talking about in a little bit, you have a long history of thousands of fiat currencies or currency failing. So clearly, it was not a store of value for those countries and for those and for people that held that currency. We're going to break that down more in some of the future slides here. But I think that really speaks to gold really having that lasting power that currency
just doesn't. Okay, so hopefully that video was very informative in helping you understand the primary distinction between money and currency, which is basically that money has the ability to store value over the long term. Now, this is really important because for generations, people knew that gold was money all the way up until about 3 generations ago. And now we have 2 generations of people and 2 generations of scholars who have never had gold be money in any of the economies in the world because they've all been backed by the dollar, which has been backed by nothing, right? So this important distinction is lost in our current world, and we believe that gold, a lot of people believe that gold is a commodity. Gold isn't a commodity. Gold is money, and it has been money for centuries. So in the next video, we're going to talk about how this happened. We're going to go over 140 years of monetary history, hopefully very quickly, so you can see how we went from having gold being money to how we now have a fiat currency that has no value backing at all. So I'll see you on the next video.